Welcome to the next project, episode 13 of the Harley Benton SC Guitar Kit Mod Project Series. In this episode, I will be taking parts kits for Filtertron style pickups and winding them to come up with Filtertron style pickups. This is the bridge pickup that I wound just a little while ago. It turned out really well. It actually works. I am using 42 gauge Electrosol single coat wire. I don't know if that's going to come in. There it is. It's pretty fine. Nice fine stuff. I don't know if it is factory correct with what Gretsch would have had their Filtertrons wound in whenever, but it is what I'm using. There's a kind of limited amount of good data on how Filtertrons are wound. A lot of information on Telecaster and Stratocaster and humbucker pickups of all sorts and flavors, but not much on Filtertrons. So this is kind of my take, along with the research that I've done and borrowed ideas from people. We're also going to wire these together and get a harness together and test it and make sure everything works. And that will probably pretty well finish out this episode. But let's start the next project. Here's a quick look at the parts that I used, and I will leave a list of the bits and pieces used in the description below. I had built a pickup winder about a year before taking on this particular winding task, and it's something that I had planned to do and planned to use, and I just have too many projects going on. But the pickup winder itself has gone through a couple revisions already, just getting ready for the day that I would actually start winding pickups. And before I could actually start winding the pickups, I had to clean up the bobbins. I had to remove the sharp edges and the casting burrs that were left on the plastic. During the winding process, everything went pretty well. Here you can see me adjusting the guide on the shaft there and putting in a backdrop. I'm trying to figure out how to make it so I can see the build of wire on the bobbin a little better. On this first bobbin, I stopped about every 500 to 1,000 winds, and since the Filtertron bobbins only take around 3,600 winds total, it didn't take long to fill this bobbin with wire. I really thought winding the bobbins would be the hardest part of the process, but honestly it turned out to be the easiest and fastest. Hooking up the pickup lead wires, that was really the hardest part of the whole process for me. The coil wire is so fine and hard to see and easy to break that I had a little bit of trouble getting my head around that. But once I figured it out, it went pretty well. Here I'm using some pickup tape, the black tape. Just a quick touch of solder to hold everything together, and I mean just a quick touch. And I'm checking for continuity, and it works. That's good. Now I'll finish taping it up, and we'll have this bobbin completed. I wound and assembled the bridge pickup first, and I soldered the ground lead to the bottom of this plate. And when I was all done, it didn't really look good, and I didn't have the right soldering gun on hand at the time. So this actually is the neck pickup, and I soldered the ground lead to the kind of the inside flange, close to where the bobbins are themselves. It looks a lot better, and it actually was a little easier to assemble the pickup this way. I used a couple different soldering irons. I have a 20 watt, I think it is, and also an 85 watt. The 20 watt was good for the fine wire soldering, and the 80 or 85 watt, whatever it is, was what I used to solder the ground wire on to the base plate and also solder the cover onto the base plate. I performed some crude and uneducated testing on these pickups and compared them to a pair of Gretsch blacktop pickups that I have. The Gretsch's, both neck and bridge, appear to be identical wound. Mine do show some variation. I have a lot of testing to do and a lot to learn as I wade into the pickup winding pool. There's just a lot of information, and having to learn what that information means, it's a pretty big learning curve for me. Using what I believe is called a double boiler on the stove to melt the wax. It's in a quart mason jar. Here you can see the bubbles, the air being pulled out of the pickup. It's under vacuum, which I used a brake bleeder vacuum pump. I learned about this on the TDPRI website, and also I believe it was Will Galvin's YouTube site a couple years ago maybe, and somewhere else. I can't think where else I've seen it, but it worked pretty well. This is my initial sanding of the clear/sealer coat, just to knock down the raised grain, to take off the high spots, bring them down to the low spots. And I think I might be able to get away with doing a finish hand sanding on this and get it ready for final finishing and clear coat, hopefully. Drilling a hole for a Telecaster style input jack socket. This is an electric socket, I think they call them. They're really nice. This is the basic wiring plan that I use for this project. The real change is the capacitor. I don't know what value I'm going to use yet, so I just kind of bypassed that for the moment. And I'll get that figured out before I do my final installation of the wiring. Using a multimeter to test the Switchcraft style 3-way switch, and got it soldered up. That was quick. And now getting ready to start connecting everything, hooking a ground wire between the 3 pots. I had soldered a ground lead onto the tone pot to run out to the jack, and a little bit later I realized I didn't need that because I have a ground shielding line in that red lead that's there, so I end up removing the extra ground, the black wire running out. Overall, the wiring process went pretty well. I'm a little rusty at doing this. It's not like I do this every day, so I have to think, and that's always a problem. But take my time, had a diagram to look at, and still, had to rethink things as I went along. Well, as a conclusion to this episode of the next project, we've kind of got it together. It's definitely a convertible format right now. Got the neck on, strung up. It wants to go out of tune, I think, because it's pulling against the back, which has no support. So it's a losing battle there. But it does work. Out of tune. Anyway, I got to get it back on it so it'll stay in tune. Also need to get it set up. It's not intonated at all yet. I just slid the bridge in there, strung it up. This is the factory nut yet, and the action's not too bad right here. It's quite high at the nut. Maybe in the next episode I'll put the back on it, set the neck, and get it ready for final finishing. What else? The electronics. I should only have to unsolder the the neck pickup, the other bridge, the neck pickup, and unbolt everything. It should all be able to slide out through the oversized cavity I cut for the bridge, the real bridge pickup. So that'll be cool. I don't have to try and fish things through an F-hole, which if you've ever done that, that's a lot of fun. Really, you should try it. Thanks for watching, and in the next episode it's really going to start looking like a guitar, I think.